go over the Quizizz real quick. What two things are required to turn decaying plant matter into coal? Heat and pressure. Forms underground, heat and pressure. What happens to carbon bonds in coal as it ages? The only thing here that matches its explanation is that it gets tighter with compression. As you're squeezing it, you're losing space between them. They get stronger and stronger. Biggest pollution contributor from coal burning? Carbon dioxide. You guys know about this. You hear it in the news all the time. Greenhouse gases, global warming, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Most coal is used to produce electricity. Heat homes and businesses, that comes from electricity. Or power steamships and steam trains, that's burning. Not a lot of trains left in the world. Steamships, also not a lot of them left in the world. Which best describes how coal forms? Tiny sea animals and plants dying and buried in sediment tends to form oil, not coal. So the answer was C, not A, because it requires moisture. They need to stay wet as they decompose. Deserts don't make oil. Which is true about surface coal mining. Overburden needs to be removed. That's not even specific to surface coal mining. That's just surface mining in general. Coal can form in as little as 100 years. That's just straight up false. It's a non-renewable resource specifically because it can take millions of years for coal to form. Coal can only be found in China and the US? Absolutely not. Also, only falls in those things like never and always. If there's even one counterexample, it's wrong. Which of the following is not a fossil fuel? Wind and solar. Fossil fuels have to come from the remains of formerly living things. Wind and solar have nothing to do with formerly living things. They are both related to the sun. Which the mining technique is more dangerous? Obviously the underground stuff. We talked about that when we talked about mining. Coal is cheap compared to other forms of energy. True, that's one of the reasons why it's used so much. The other is that it's energy dense. You get a lot of energy out of not a lot of volume. Is coal a renewable source of energy? Absolutely not. Which is not a renewable energy source? You're looking for the one that's non-renewable? Coal. Interestingly, only 78% of you got number 12 right, and then 89% of you got number 13 right. Interesting. Which is not a non-renewable resource. The nots in non cancel out, so you're looking which is the renewable resource? Wind. What does it mean to extract an energy source? Most of you got this. To gather. What is given off from energy? Heat. We talked about this with the second law of thermodynamics. Most electricity generation comes from heating up water and using that steam to spin a turbine. But no matter what your energy source is, heat is what is the result. Which of the following transforms energy from plant and animal matter into electrical energy? Plants and animals are living things. That's biomass. Bio, living. Which of the following transforms energy from uranium atoms into electrical energy? Nuclear fission. Atoms, nuclear. Common sense. Non-renewable source of energy? Nuclear. It comes from uranium, which there's a fixed amount on Earth, and new uranium does not form at a significant rate. So, non-renewable. What is a renewable source of energy? Ocean tides. The world is not going to run out of ocean, and until the moon is gone, we will have tides. Picture shows sunlight shining on solar panels. Which statement best describes this energy source? You don't even need the picture for this. Sunlight does not produce hydropower. Sunlight is renewable. Sunlight is renewable and used to produce electricity. Yeah. And sunlight is non-renewable? Absolutely not. C was your only answer that makes sense. This picture shows a geothermal power plant. You don't need the picture for this one either, just like the previous one. There's only one that correctly matches. C. Fossil fuels formed hundreds of millions of years ago from the remains of the dead. This one was worded badly. It should say from the remains of dead what? Animals and plants. But again, it's really the answer that makes the most sense. The law holding perpetrator liable for cleanup, CERCLA. Source of energy that causes noise pollution and increased deaths in birds. That's wind energy. That's windmills. That's a specific one we mentioned. Also, bats. Half-life of iodine-131. Okay, so for this you do need the picture. It's a little fuzzy, but it says percent of iodine 131 remaining. At 0, it's 100%. The half-life is how long it takes for half of it to decay. So we go down to 50%. That took 8 days. And then half again would be 25%. So we come down to 25%. That took 16 days. Then 12.5%, 24 days. It's losing 50% every 8 days. So D. Not an example of biomass. You're looking for the one that isn't direct result from living matter. Petroleum. Yes, it comes from living things, but millions of years ago, so it's a different category now. It's petroleum. How does biomass reduce our carbon footprint? This goes along with carbon sequestration. The carbon that's released from burning is carbon that was in those plants that had recently been taken out of the atmosphere. So the carbon that's going out is almost the same as the carbon that's going in. They're effectively canceling each other out. Okay, which of the following energy resources has the lowest negative environmental impact? Solar. The Earth is getting solar energy since the sun existed. There's no negative environmental impact. The world is adapted to exist with sunlight. Which of the following does not use a turbine? Solar panels. It uses photovoltaic cells instead. The poster shows below advertisers' tours of a power plant. The power plant produces electricity, most likely using what? So we have to look. Steam from a nearby well. That sounds like underground. Hot rocks underground. Sounds like geo. Cold water into well. Power plant doesn't pollute the air. Lasts thousands of years. Yeah, it sounds like geothermal to me. Okay, put these in the correct order. It's 2, 3, 1, 4. Wind turns the wind turbine blade. So the wind turns the blade on the windmill. The gearbox transfers mechanical energy to the generator. Okay, that's the energy from the turbine blade spinning. 1, generator converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. Okay, and then 4, the electricity is transferred to the grid. Okay, great. Downside to relying on biomass. Most biomass that's burned is plants. When you destroy plants, you destroy root systems. When you destroy root systems, you're going to have increases in soil erosion and degradation in soil quality. So, yeah, A. According to the second law of thermodynamics, boom, every single time there's an energy transformation, it's not lost, but it's less usable. It's lower quality. What is an advantage of nuclear energy? No air pollution. When you see those pictures with the big cooling towers, it looks like a bunch of smoke going into the atmosphere. It's just steam. It's water. What type of power plant is this? Well, let's look. There are those little cooling towers. Looks like nuclear to me. Okay, that's just the definition of half-life. Here's an application of half-life. So the half-life is 30 years. After 4 half-lives, you would do 400 divided by 2, divided by 2, divided by 2, divided by 2. So 400 divided by 2, 200, divided by 2, 100, divided by 250, divided by 2, 25. Which of the following are often cited reasons as the downsides or costs of nuclear energy? All of these. Nuclear power plants take a really long time to produce. They're very expensive. Safety concerns during construction. Post-construction, not so much. And what to do with the waste is a big deal. That stuff stays that uranium stays radioactive for a couple of billion years. Which of the form of coal would be the hardest? So we would look at this. You're looking for the one that has the most pressure. So most pressure, that would be your anthracite. Most of you got that. Yay. Hydroelectric power produces energy using hydro is water. Petroleum and natural gas form from the remains of plants and animals. It's the best answer. Careful use of a resource. Conservation. The energy resource that is most affected by changes in the weather, wind. If there's no wind, you're not going to have any energy. If there's too much wind, you have to turn the windmills off anyway, otherwise they'll break. Geothermal, not a lot of weather effects under the ground. One problem with blank energy is that it produces radioactive waste. Radioactive, nuclear. Not an alternative energy source. So you're looking for something that's not new. You're looking for the one that's old, the one that's most common, and that's fossil fuels. It's the one that needs to be replaced. Alternative also means renewable. Hot water is pumped from deep inside the earth, geothermal. Deep inside the earth, immediately think geo. Why are Americans' roofs not crammed with more solar panels? Solar panels are incredibly expensive. Once they're set up, there's not a lot of maintenance to do on them, but the initial purchase of them is very expensive. Which type of artificial alternative energy? Oh, well, I see a sun and it looks like solar panels to me, so probably solar. 3 main fossil fuels: coal, oil, natural gas. Gasoline is a subset of oil. Electricity is not a fuel, and non-renewable resources are also not fuel. Coal often forms where there were once swamps. The characteristic of swamps, lots of plant life. The next best answer would have been that there's moisture. Which device produces electricity? That's the generator. The turbine is what's connected to the generator, but the generator is what actually makes the electricity. Which source of alternative energy is most efficient? So most of you picked coal because, yes, it has the highest percent efficiency, but it's a fossil fuel. It's non-renewable. Once it's used up, it's gone. So wind is your best answer because it's slightly less efficient, but it doesn't go away. So over a long enough timeline, this efficiency will be greater. It'll be much greater than coal's efficiency. So that's a bit of metadata. Okay. Which type of alternative energy? Oh, that looks like a dam to me. Hydroelectric dam. What is biomass energy? Organic matter. Drawback of using it: removing crops or trees deprives the soil. You're destroying those root systems. You're going to reduce the quality or quantity of your soil. Water stored behind the dam, water reservoir. Advantage of hydroelectric power: no carbon dioxide. You're just making electricity based on the virtue of water flowing through your dam. There's nothing extra. A pro of hydroelectricity: all of these are pros. It's clean, it's renewable, it's efficient. As long as the river's there, you can have your power. The water, other than adding a little heat, nothing is happening to it as it flows through, and efficient. Once it's built, humans don't have to do much to keep it going. What's a con? These are all cons. You're destroying habitat above stream and downstream. Salmon can't migrate past dams, and because humans are controlling the flooding, it disrupts that natural flooding cycle. Disadvantages of geothermal: the biggest disadvantage is that you can't use it everywhere. You can't install one here in Texas and have it work. Just doesn't work. Just doesn't happen. There's no geologic activity here that would support geothermal energy. Disadvantage for hydroelectric: hydro is water. If you don't have water, it's not going to work. Electric energy is turned into rotational energy. Flip that. You're turning rotational energy into electrical energy. How is wind caused? Unequal heating of the Earth's surface. That's just the definition of wind. Wind farms. Well, a regular farm is where you have a bunch of the same crop all in one place that's being purposely raised for a purpose. Wind farm, it's the same thing. You have a farm, sarcastic quotation marks, of windmills. Rather than growing corn, you're growing windmills. True or false? Wind energy is the most expensive energy in the world. Absolutely false. Wind energy is renewable. Absolutely true. How do wind turbines affect the environment? The biggest con you're looking for with windmills is going to be killing birds. The step needed for sea plants and animals to become hydrocarbons is enormous heat and pressure. They have to form under the ground. You have to squeeze them. Distillation, that's just the definition. Distillation is the separating of substances based on differences in boiling point. Which of these countries is not a member of OPEC? OPEC are the oil producing and exporting countries. It's mostly the Middle East, and the ones that aren't in the Middle East are in South America. So, Mexico, that's your best answer. Top 2 crude oil producing states, Alaska and Texas. This is just a fact you guys should know. It was included in the presentations you were supposed to study. Drilling, refining, and using petroleum is responsible for which environmental hazard? All of these. Fossil fuel consisting of methane that occurs naturally underground. Naturally, and methane is a gas, natural gas. Fossil fuels used to produce gasoline and oil, petroleum. Natural gas is methane. It's used for heating. Coal, that's solid little chunks that's used for generating electricity. Gasoline and oil is petroleum. Non-renewable energy source made from the remains of non-living organisms. Okay, non-renewable, fossil fuel. Renewable energy, it can't be non-renewable and renewable at the same time. That's dumb. Whoever this one person is a goof. Fossil fuel made from mostly carbonized plant matter. Coal. Petroleum is plants and animals. Coal is strictly plant. Major use of petroleum, transportation. Most petroleum, oil, and gas is used for movement of stuff. Coal is used to generate electricity, not gas. Which of the following are environmental consequences of using coal? All of the above. What are the 2 main gases that make up the sun? Hydrogen and helium. Most of the universe, over 99% of the observed universe, is made of hydrogen or helium. And then, name of the area in 1986 where there was a nuclear explosion, that's Chernobyl. Easy peasy.